Hey guys, Scott Fishman here with a special guest today, someone who set independent wrestling on fire the last couple of years, so much that he's called the Indie God. And right now he's still appearing at shows despite, coming back from an injury. So we're going to catch up with Matt Cardona today. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So what's the prognosis right now on the pack and your recovery?
So it's been about 2.5 months since the injury, since I got surgery. I went to Mexico, well documented, got over 400 million stem cells injected throughout my whole body. But as for the return, I'm kind of keeping that close to the vest. I want it to be a surprise, or at least the announcement to be a surprise. So I know in my head when I'm coming back, but I don't want the rest of the world to know until it's time.
Yeah. What admirable about you is you always find ways to kind of stay relevant and stay within, you realize just how hot you were at the time. And rather than stepping away because you know how important it is to stay within the public eye, you're finding ways to kind of really stay relevant on the pulse of everything. So why was it important for you to kind of do that rather than take the typical way of stepping aside and taking some time for yourself?
I mean, trust me, I would have loved a summer vacation. But in this business, it's what have you done for me lately, right? And you got to chase that buzz. You got to stay relevant, especially on the independents. So I knew when I got hurt, I had to pivot. I had to readjust. I immediately contacted all the promoters I was working for, told them the deal, told them the situation, and rescheduled the ones who didn't just want me to trash talk. And luckily for me, I'm able to just come to a lot of these places, just trash talk, sell merchandise. I just went to Australia. Maybe I took a super kick or two from Nick Nemeth, but other than that, you didn't see me in action. And I'm proud that I'm able to make these towns, and I'm able to provide value to these promoters and these fans with much more than just wrestling inside those ropes. But trust me, at the same time, I'm rushing to come back. But it's very important. You can't let the momentum die.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, one thing I've respected about you is you've seen the importance of branding, even with WWE, the importance of branding and getting that connection with the audience and realizing there's so many ways, avenues of revenue that there could be. Even with WWE, I remember when you'd offered a free card when you bought one of your t-shirts, your
Yeah.
Zack Ryder t-shirts, and you followed through on that. I took advantage. So it seems like now people are finally starting to real a lot of wrestlers are starting to realize that this is the way to go. And even taking the middleman out and seeing, I can do this. And you're doing it right now with action figures and these third-party companies, and you're seeing so much success with it. So take me through from when you first started to now and kind of seeing this explosion, which you kind of were at the forefront of when it comes to branding and marketing and seeing what's out there when you're a wrestler and getting your name out, and not necessarily having to be the top of the list, the top of the card with a wrestling company, but even, taking it into your own hands.
Yeah, so 2011 when I started the YouTube show Z True Long Island Story, I've told this story so many times that I just wasn't happy with my spot on the card, and I wanted to do something about it. I pitched so many ideas, they didn't happen, which is fine. Not every pitch is going to go through. Not every pitch is good, even though I might think it is, or it might not be right for the time. But I started the YouTube show because I wanted the people to know who I was. How could I let them in if I'm just standing in the ring losing on Raw in 3 minutes? I can't show my personality. I can't show anything about myself. And that's what the whole YouTube show was about. I could have never imagined how big it would have gotten and how fast it got so big. But it all makes sense looking back. I mean, they just want to be in. They just want to be let in. And when they got that peek behind the curtain and they found out who I was, that I collected wrestling figures, that, I listened to Backstreet Boys, that my girlfriend just dumped me, whatever was going on in my life, I, showed through that show through the Zack Ryder character. So it was authentic in the sense that, it was really happening to me, but I was showing them Matt Cardona through Zack Ryder. And I think that blend of the real life and the wrestling character is so important. I mean, you go see, let's say, the new Deadpool movie. Okay, Ryan Reynolds is tweeting as Ryan Reynolds. He's not, in character as Deadpool. Maybe that's a bad example because he kind of
A
does
little
do
bit.
that. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was a horrible example to pick. But for the most part, okay, if Ghostbusters, Peter Venkman is not tweeting as Peter Venkman. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. Bill Murray would,
Yeah.
if he even has Twitter, maybe another bad example, but like you get what I'm saying. The
Yeah.
actor is not tweeting in character. Wrestling is this weird dynamic where, you go on my social media, but now pretty much anyone's social media. It'll be what they did on the wrestling show the next day with their cat, then at the gym. It's social media. The fans want to be let in, and I guess I was one of the first to really let the fans in, and that's why they have connected with me and stayed connected for so long.
Do you think, given the landscape of WWE right now, it seems creatively a lot of the wrestlers are able to kind of really foster their interests, and they're actually kind of applauding them and kind of really supporting them. I mean, you even see the up up down down channel, things like that. And just the landscape of the business. I mean, Zack Ryder became so still so successful despite any detractors, but you also had that support of like a John Cena and things like that. But had Zack Ryder been involved in the system today, how do you think he would be more successful?
Man, I think what made Zack Ryder so successful was the time, because it wasn't done. It wasn't being done. If I were to do it now, I'd just be like anybody else. And I'm not saying I was the first person to do a web show. I certainly wasn't. There was the Dirt Sheet with Miz and Morrison, right? There was Santino's Casa, right? But I was the first one who was doing it myself, writing it myself, funding it myself, editing it myself. You go back and watch some of those episodes, the editing is atrocious. It's just me on my iMovie, but that was the charm of the show. And I think that's what the fans could relate to, and including the fans in on the journey, whether it be the Broski of the Week videos or Sign of the Week, encouraging fans to bring signs. And then I would show those signs on the show. Or, like you said, sending out trading cards to people who bought the shirt. This was all stuff that wasn't done back then. So I think if it were to happen now, it wouldn't be as special, it wouldn't be as important, because really anybody can do stuff like that now.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that's great, I guess, right now for you is while you're having this, I wouldn't say time off, but time to, not wrestling. I mean, you're seeing Chelsea Green doing some amazing things, and she stole the show at Money in the Bank. You are there, you're always there supporting her, just like she was for you. I mean, what does it mean to you to kind of see what's happening? I mean, it's interesting because you almost have a lot of parallels in your career. How she was where she is now, it's kind of like where you were kind of building your career. So what does it mean for you to kind of see people finally, they were appreciating her before, but I think really now appreciating her skill set, what she can bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm biased because she's my my wife, but even when, I guess before, when she was just my girlfriend, I couldn't believe that, when she was doing the hot mess stuff and Impact, that WWE didn't want to hire her, and I couldn't believe it when they fired her. And then I couldn't believe in that in between when she was in NXT they weren't using her. But I'm glad that now she's finally getting the recognition she deserves. I had a GCW show the night before Money in the Bank in Toronto, so I figured, hey, what the hell? Might as well go check out my wife. Obviously, super proud of everything she accomplished, not just in that match, but I'm proud of her whether she's doing a pre-tape on SmackDown or falling off a ladder through tables, right? But it's nice to see the world, the wrestling world, giving her flowers finally. And I think it's only a matter of time before she gets what she's earned. I hate saying gets what people deserve, but gets what she's earned.
And being so part of GCW and authoritative figure as well, do you see WWE working with GCW now, with seeing them work with other companies? When you see the blood sport going on, you see TNA, where do you think we're with that kind of relationship?
I'm super proud to be a part of GCW. GCW is a company I feel that I put on the map with that death match with Nick Gage, but at the same time, they put me on the map with that death match with Nick Gage. And the relationship since then has been mutually beneficial. That match um, might sound crazy, but it changed my life. It changed my career. Um, and I owe so much to GCW. And I don't think GCW gets the credit that it deserves. I mean, this company, truly an independent company, runs all over the world every single weekend. I mean, I think it's WWE, then GCW. I don't think anybody, any other company, runs as much, as consistent as GCW was and is currently doing. So I think, WWE, I wouldn't be surprised if they, do some stuff with the GCW. They already kind of are with the blood sport, the Josh Barnett blood sport. But imagine if there's, Matt Cardona, you know, comes down the ramp at Raw, and then Joey Janela, Effie, Nick Gage, Steph Delander, you know what I'm saying? Like that old
Like
school ECW.
ECW stuff.
Exactly. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it. I mean, you talk about a perfect way to for Matt Cardona to make his debut in WWE because he ain't coming back as Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder's dead. Matt Cardona comes down the aisle. Nick Gage hops the back. Man, you want to talk about moments right there. That's a moment. Effie, Janela, SDL, Allie, Mance. You got everybody we could bring in.
The whole
It'd be
Motley
awesome.
crew.
Brett Lauderdale could be the new Heyman on commentary.
Let's do it. I love that idea. One thing though, I would love to see Matt Cardona because you talk about Zack Ryder being dead, but John Cena announced his retirement tour next year, and it seems the door's open for a lot of people who are on the list that want to face John Cena. You guys have a history. He was a big supporter of yours as well. I mean, first, what were your kind of first thoughts of him when he announced his retirement, and thoughts of facing him right now as Matt Cardona, and if he's kind of reached out to you at all, talking about how you've been able to still make success out of what you've been doing?
John, I've looked up to John for a long time. We did get close during the my WWE run, but he is just a pro's pro. What a way to go out! What a smart way to go out, huh? Yeah, a whole year plus because he's hyping it up in what, July?
So I like a good movie.
Smart man. I'm just thinking the merch. He already had the merch ready, man. John is such a great guy. Somebody who's definitely helped me in my career. But yeah, all those posts I've been making on social media, they're not BS. I would love to wrestle John Cena one last time. And I think with the way WWE is now, I think it's something that could happen where I could just walk in, whether it be for one day or make a return. But yeah, I think Zack Ryder versus John Cena, those matches were fine. They were what they were. But John Cena versus Matt Cardona, that's where the story is, right? Because you could play it so many different ways. Matt Cardona could say, John, like, you're the reason my WWE career didn't take off the way. There's so many things that we could play into. And I know that if I walked through the doors of WWE, surprise or not, I'd get a reaction. I'm not like some guy who just like wants this next run. I know that if I come out and call this cocky or not, I know I'd get a reaction. I know it'd be great. I mean, look what happened on AEW when I wrestled Adam Copeland. Holy shit chance on my entrance. Come on. What are we doing here? So I think John Cena versus Matt Cardona would be magical. And I'm very, very happy he gets to go out on his own terms.
How often are you, being at shows and things like that? How often are you having conversations with a Triple H or a Bruce Pritchard or someone like that, just kind of matter of factly?
So when I go to these WWE shows, and I've been to 3 since I left to see Chelsea, I don't talk to anybody. I try to not be seen. I try to, sit privately. And Chelsea wants me to come back take a picture. That's it. I don't want to linger. I don't want to be back there. I don't want people to think I'm begging for a job. I'm just there to support my wife, right? I'm just there to be a fan. So I'm not there to conduct business for me.
Fair enough. You talked about Steph earlier. Who else would you say? Because you saw her something special in her, and you guys have become such a great act. So is there anyone else right now? I know I've seen you take photos with others. Who should we be looking at right now from the independent scene that's going to be making a mark in the next couple years?
Man, this kid Jordan Oliver, who just got hurt, he's a GCW guy, very hungry. Yeah, he can do all the high flying stuff too, but he can wrestle, he can talk, he dresses like a star. It's unfortunate he got an injury right now, but he's a guy who, when I first saw him GCW a couple years ago, I didn't think anything of him. I'm like, who's this punk kid? But to see him grow over these past 3-4 years, very proud of the guy. It's unfortunate he's out with an injury now, but I told him there's no good time to get injured. You know what I'm saying? So he's definitely the one to look out for when he's healthy.
Awesome. One thing you mentioned about being a big fan of wrestling. We saw a lot of figures and memorabilia that you do own, in addition to others. I'm curious, I've been a big proponent of seeing you on Collectors Call. I don't know if you know the show, but Lisa Welcher hosts the show where she goes to people's collections, whether there's museums or things like that. And she kind of goes over it, and then you guys show your most prized, collect members of your collection. And then it gets appraised by, an expert, and then the expert comes and tries to trade with you. So I don't know if you're aware of that show, but tell me about just how the collection continues to grow and what maybe might be the I don't say in the golden piece for you, the prized
Yeah,
possession that you're like, if there's a fire, that's the first thing I'm taking
right.
with.
So, I grew up loving wrestling and I was born in 85. And for some reason, I have the majority of the mid to late 80s LJN WWF wrestlers, even though, like, I have very, early memories. People always ask, what's your first ever wrestling match you saw? I have no idea. But all I remember from childhood is wrestling, being consumed with wrestling, having these figures, and I wasn't treating them right. I still have my childhood ones. Jim the Anvil Neidhart's fingers are all chewed off. Like these were like, they were just toys that banged together. They were all scuffed up, but I never grew out of it. And then eventually, with the Hasbros and the Jacks, but I don't want to say I blame wrestling figures, but I thank wrestling figures for my love of pro wrestling because, there was no internet back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So, like, let's say I'm watching Raw or even before Raw, just Saturday morning shows, and then I have to wait a whole week, or maybe I can go to the Blockbuster, rent a VHS. But with my wrestling figures, I can continue the stories every single day, and I can make up my own stories. I can have my own fig fed. So just like having those figures, they weren't just toys to me. They let my imagination loose. And even when I was in high school, I was still playing and collecting with, playing with figures, collecting figures. I didn't tell anybody, but I was. Even in my early WWE run with Brian Myers, but it was a different time then. Like I couldn't come into the locker room and be like, "Hey, Bob Holly, just found your figure at Target." You know what I'm saying? Like he'd shit in my bag and throw me out of the locker room. But it's a different era, right? Because those guys, I don't blame them. They didn't grow up chasing the ice cream man for the WF ice cream bars. They didn't grow up with the wrestling buddy, so they didn't understand it. Now everyone gets it, right? And we have the Major Wrestling for Your podcast, which we're about to celebrate our 6th year, which is pretty crazy. And like we were touching on earlier, I have my own wrestling figures, Major Bendy's big rubber guys, and the big rubber guys are actually paying homage to the LJN wrestlers from the 80s. It's almost a continuation, an unofficial continuation, but we're making guys and girls that should have been made back in the day, like a Barbarian, right? Or we're redoing Andre the Giant, making them actually taller. So, we got Comic Con coming up. We're going to show off a lot of cool product. We have a bloody Ric Flair, which I'm very pumped about. And these are all
Nice.
officially licensed. These aren't customs by any means. All the talent's getting paid. They're getting their royalties. And they're getting paid. Well, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. They're getting paid better than getting paid for Mattel. So,
Wow. Yeah, it's nice to see some of the older folks too, like Greg Gagne and all them getting figures at this stage of the game. And
yeah,
then
it's awesome. And there's so many other companies like us too. So many other smaller companies. It's wrestling is so hot right now, which bleeds into the wrestling figure business. So it's great time for me because I love wrestling. I love wrestling figures. They're both hot.
yeah. Wait, but what was the answer though to the question?
Oh,
What's in your collection
okay.
that's
I actually have it right here. That's what we call figure fate. I have it right here because we're actually going to film something for our YouTube channel. I think it's basically what you said. If your house is on fire, what would you grab, right? So I actually have it here. This was not set up, folks. If you're watching, um, this is a Hasbro Rhythm and Blues Greg the Hammer Valentine. This is unreleased. This never came out.
wow.
Early 90s WF magazine. I believe the Rockers are on the cover. You flip open the cover, there's a Toys R Us ad, like get the new tag teams at Toys R Us. It's the Bushwhackers, the Rockers, Demolition, and Rhythm and Blues, Honky Tonk Man, and Greg Valentine. No internet, right? So you go to these stores, you find the Bushwhackers, you find the Rockers, you find Demolition, but there's no Rhythm and Blues. You just assume, oh, they're sold out. I can't find them. My mom was driving me around all of Long Island looking for this Rhythm and Blues.
God bless.
Eventually realize it doesn't come out, right? But this is the hand painted prototype from the ad that I got from a Hasbro employee. And then I put it in a little case, got signed by Greg Valentine. But me and Greg have heat, actually. We have
Hmm.
heat. He almost fought me last year at WrestleCon because I've said in interviews, because I talk about this toy all the time. I've said that I'm not a Greg the Hammer Valentine fan. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of his. I'm just not like I didn't get this because like he's not my Hogan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's not my Macho Man. He's great. Greg the Hammer Valentine, awesome career, Hall of Famer. But I got this because he's the figure, the white whale, the figure that never came out. So he misunderstood that for me, like not liking him. So he like, I'm not saying he held me against the wall at WrestleCon, but outside that hotel bar, got a little, woo.
Dang.
He held that Hall of Fame ring up, I'll tell you.
So what is that worth? What's that? What would you say that's worth?
Oh man, I was offered 25,000 a few years ago, and I turned it
Wow.
down.
Wow.
So I would hope more than that now,
Has Ch
because everything's blowing up.
has Chelsea ever played pranks on you where she like made one of your items go missing and you're like looking everywhere for it?
No, but she's left some doors open where my dogs had eaten
Oh.
things.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's
Okay.
happened before. My dog Dude ate a prototype Razor Ramon head. That's true.
Oh. Any grounds for divorce on any of these things?
No, no, no.
Okay, good. Nothing that serious.
Chelsea's cool about the figures. As long as I keep them in my rooms, I don't let them just get all. They don't take over the house. She's cool with it.
How has A&E and WWE not reached out? Like, have they tried to get
That's a
any?
great question. Great question. I don't have the answer to that. It's
So
funny
it's nothing
because
you haven't said no to. It's just they haven't
no,
reached out.
they have not reached out about the all the collectible stuff. It's funny because when when Brian Myers and I first did the Major Wrestling Fair podcast, we were in WWE. We were still there, and we pitched it to them like whatever it was going to be called, the Zach and Kurt Wrestling Figure Podcast, because they had done some stuff with us on their YouTube channel, like called Zach and Kurt Figure It Out, where we go to toy stores and just
Love
buy
it.
some toys. It was fun. So like, why don't we make this a podcast? And at the time, they said they saw nothing in podcasts or nothing in collectibles, which was a blessing in disguise because then we just did it on our own. And I learned through the situation I went through with my old YouTube show. Hey, we got to call this Matt and Brian because if it's Zach and Kurt, they own it.
Mm,
So, and thank God I did because when we got fired and the world was shut down and you couldn't go wrestle anywhere, the Major Wrestling Figure podcast and we call them major marks, all our fans were keeping us afloat. And now it's the business is booming. We have two toy lines about to debut a third at Comic-Con. So everything happens for a reason.
I believe that for sure. Lastly, I know you can't mention when or where we're going to see you back in the ring, but where do you see Matt Cardona fitting in the landscape today, and what's kind of left for you that you want to kind of accomplish within your career to really you feel satisfied?
These past 4 years, I've said it a bunch. I don't care how you define success, accolades, money, happiness, no matter how you define it. This has been the most successful time of my career. With that being said, I want to hang up that indie god hat. Like I feel like I've done everything there is to do and then some on the independents, right? I've worked so hard. I continue to work so hard, and I love working so hard for peanuts. I want the peanut butter. You know what I'm saying? I want the whole jar. I wanna leave some peanut butter at the bottom. There's so much peanut butter in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We can't get to it. Yeah, I'll just get a new jar.
you want that little morsel left.
Yeah. So I feel like I'd fit in on any television company right now. I mean, like I said, we talked about earlier, Adam Copeland. I just got plugged in randomly. Collision. They're one of their top guys, Adam Copeland. Awesome match. And people can say, "Oh, they have chemistry." Blah blah blah. I never worked a guy in my life. Never. That was my dream match. I thought it was going to happen in WWE. Never did. You know, there's so many guys in AEW I'd love to wrestle. People I'd love to wrestle for the first time. Guys like Kenny Omega. I wrestled Will Ospreay a year or two ago in the UK. I'd love to wrestle MJF, Long Island versus Long Island. But then on the other side, WWE, right? I mean, WWE is on fire right now. Cody Rhodes, WWE champion. All I'm saying is that when he left WWE, he left because Zack Ryder beat Stardust.
Mm,
It set him out of the company.
damn.
So there's just so many potential matchups, but also like I feel like I've done all there is to do on the independents, but everything happens for a reason, and I won't sacrifice everything I've built. So if it doesn't make sense to go to WWE or AEW, then I will just reinvent myself and reinvent the whole goddamn independent wrestling scene. That's what I'm gonna have to do because I'm not. Listen, I'm so grateful for everything I accomplished. I'm grateful for my time in WWE, grateful for the highs and lows, but I am not finished yet. Not even close. I have so much left in the tank, body wise, creatively wise. Um, Yeah, that's why being injured sucks so bad, because like I just want to be in there, but it's also good for me to kind of rethink some things, right, and plan some things out. But I'm very excited for the next couple months to see what happens for me. As just being the wrestling business keeps changing. This is the
Yeah.
hottest it's been since I've been in the business. I started 2003. So I missed that attitude era, as a professional wrestler, of course, watching as a fan. So I've been through it all, and this is the hottest it's ever been. Independents, in my opinion, are the hottest they've ever been. There's literally wrestling, whether it's on TV or streaming service, or you go to your local venue every single night of the week if you want to consume wrestling. That's unbelievable. It's never been like that. So 2025 is going to be a very fun year for Matt Cardona. We'll see where I end up.
Yeah. Well, you're always ready, so we know that.
Always ready.
So
That's right. That's right.
thank you, Matt.
I should have just answered with that.
Yeah, right. No, I liked your answer better. I like
Yeah.
so many ways you can go, and a lot of, if I was a wrestler right now, I definitely want to watch, and someone that I can look at their pattern, just do what you're doing and see what happens, because, bet on yourself, believe in yourself, and see what's out there. Just look at all the different things and not be afraid to kind of think outside the box. And I think you've shown that. So thank you so much, Matt, for the time. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you
Thank
back in the
you
ring.
so much. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for everything you do.
All right, take care.